Thanks so much for coming to this forum on human rights in the Gulf and its regional effect. The speakers we do have are Bushra al-Fusail, who's an independent photographer and organizer of the 2015 Bike for Yemen protest against the war and for human rights.
So I came here to talk about the war in Yemen that started at the 26th of March 2015. So far, it didn't end. I still remember that day as it's yesterday. It was the night of the 26th of March. We were just sleeping. We didn't know, or we didn't expect it, or I don't know how to describe it more. But everybody was sleeping. It was 12 a.m. and suddenly we started to hear bombing. Somehow we're used to it, but that was different because we felt it from the ground. We wake up, electricity was off, we didn't know what's happening. We started to call each other, the friends, the family, and then we finally know that it's Saudi Arabia is bombing Sana'a. It's just Sana'a that night. That night when we were still alive, we didn't sleep. We were just hiding under the stairs. We were happy that we were still alive that day. And then they said, the Saudi government, they announced it's just gonna be for 2 weeks to destroy all the weapons for the Houthis and Ali Abdullah Saleh. And we were like, okay, though we didn't understand. At the beginning they were saying we're just gonna hit the military places, the storage for the weapons, and that's it. That 2 weeks, it was, yeah, for real. It was just the military places, which was far from the capital. So we were like, okay, we're gonna suck it for 2 weeks, and we're gonna survive that. Though we didn't understand why Saudi Arabia or the Gulf were bombing Yemen. Why did they have to enter Yemen? 2 weeks finished. They announced that they're gonna have the Hope Storm. As in Arabic, they call it Asfat al-Amal. That they're gonna stop bombing and they're gonna just fix whatever they destroyed. But apparently after that day, it was much worse, the bombing. They started to bomb the schools, civil places, the streets, mosques, hospitals, and it happened all over Yemen. It's not just Sana'a. I don't know how to explain the feeling living under airstrikes. I don't know how is it. They cut the electricity, no electricity at all, not even 1 hour, no water. The airport was closed, even if Yemeni people wanted to run away, but we couldn't because the airport is closed by Saudi Arabia. The border is closed. We can't go, we can't run anywhere. We were just forced to live that experience. After 3 months with this horrible situation, non-stop bombing, they allowed 1 airplane to evacuate the Yemenis, which is Yemeni Airlines. So how did they do it? Okay, so we have to send our names to the government, to the Saudi government, to allow us to go out of Yemen, which is, this too we didn't understand, but we were so tired from living under the airstrikes without electricity, without water, without anything. After 10 days, they approved our names, me and my mother. And then we have been stopped in Bishan, Saudi Arabia for 5 hours. And we didn't understand that as well. It's just these police officers, they come inside the plane and check our passport for 5 hours, check our luggage. Different people comes in and out. And then we arrived to Jordan because that's the only place we could go. We go there and I thought that everybody gonna talk about the war in Yemen. I thought that anybody gonna know that I'm from Yemen, they're gonna have solidarity with me, or we feel sorry, or I don't know. I thought they knew about it, at least. But I just went there. They're like, oh, why did you go out of Yemen? I was like, good question. Well, there's a war. They didn't know. Jordanians, there is a war in Yemen. It's not one person I met. Didn't know. They don't know. There's, like, I was shocked. And then I went to Europe. Of course, it's the same. And nobody cares about or talks about Yemen. Till now, 14,000 children got killed in this war. 14. Till the 26th of March of this year, we're gonna finish 1 year. In the name of, they want to destroy the weapons of the Houthis and Ali Abdullah Saleh. So far, they're just erasing Yemen from the map. There is no electricity, water. Yemeni people, they're not afraid anymore from the airstrikes. They just want electricity and water and food. They already know how to deal with the airstrikes. It's a horrible situation, and nobody talks about it. And this city where I grew up is where I studied, is all my memories there, and I'm just one simple example. And at that 3 months that I experienced the war, we had 5 days of truce. And everybody was just out in the street. And we felt like it's a carnival in Yemen in that 5 days. Everybody just walking. And that's when I did the bike campaign, that because we didn't have any petrol, that women could start bike and continue their life. And that's a resistance for the war, against the war. I have this interview with a journalist. He was asking me, so Yemeni woman likes to bike? I was like, yes, but it's a resistance to the war because we didn't have any petrol in the country. It's a resistance to the war they're doing this movement. And there's other people that are doing short movies and trying to prove they're still alive, and they resist what's happening in Yemen. Just a sign that people could talk about them or know what they're doing, because it's 10 countries against one country, which still we don't know what's going on. Why do Yemeni people have to experience this in the name of killing the Houthis or destroying their weapons? Sorry. So, yes, I think this is my story. But there's a lot of people, for example, my dad, he refused to leave Yemen. He thinks that he's just gonna fail. There's a lot of people, they didn't want to go out of Yemen because it's their country. They could leave. There's people, they just run away to Somalia, to Africa, to Djibouti, but nobody talks about them. They're there as refugees. Of course, we're different from Syrians because Syrians, they run to Europe. So that's why they're talking about the refugees. But Yemenis, we just have one way. It's from the sea to go either to Djibouti, either Somalia. or Saudi Arabia, which is, of course, we're not going to go there. So, yeah. But still, there's a lot of resistance so far, especially with the youth. They're still doing. I love this project that they did. They collected the shattered glasses from the streets, and they just did it on the wall and painting all over the streets. It's a beautiful thing that they did, and it's simple. And there is people, they're just singing in the street, which never existed in Yemen. Small band, they just wanna, cheer up the streets in Yemen instead of the airstrikes sounds. And at the end of the days, I don't know, they're just strong people. They're trying to resist the war. And I hope that I could go back to my country as well soon without any airstrikes. Inshallah.
And I had a comment, sort of a comment / question for Bushra. I was reading the various articles about the bike event and what motivated it. And what struck me is the connection between the issues of war and preserving a family and surviving economically. And it's sort of a truism that war shakes up everything, and the different social groups most affected by it move into action in a way they hadn't before. And the way you articulate it in these various articles, the way it's played out in Yemen in terms of women taking responsibility in this particular situation is just amazing.
Yeah.
So, any comments?
So yeah, so talking about the bike, it was very simple move, and there's a lot of movements from Yemeni women. So basically, these bunch of girls, they came to me. How does it started? They're like, Bushra, you're a photographer, and you talk about women's rights in Yemen. So I want a bike. So they were afraid, honestly, for going out, and they didn't know what's the community response gonna be. So I was like, yeah, let's go out. Since the Houthis, they're in charge, let's go and talk to them if they're not gonna do anything, or they're not gonna bother us. So yeah, a bunch of girls, they just gathered, and we just started to take photos, and it was simple, just to encourage Yemeni women to bike, to have a transportation, because we didn't have any kind of transportation in Yemen. There's no petrol, so there's no any kind of movement. So all you see in the streets is just men biking. So now it's women as well. It's not that much, but at least we started. If we're gonna start talking about the war, they're gonna say that they will fight with the Houthis against Saudi Arabia. They're not gonna go with Saudi Arabia to fight against their country. So even if the Yemeni, they don't like the Shi'i or the Houthis, or sometimes you would find Yemenis, they don't like the Houthi, they just don't agree with their principles, but because it's against Saudi Arabia and what they have seen, what they destroyed Saudi Arabia, so basically they will fight with Houthis. Well, there's in the news, they're saying there is a civil war in Yemen right now, which is, I completely don't believe it. Because Saudi Arabia, they're bringing arms, or people from Senegal, Colombia, India. Where do these people are fighting? So basically, they're fighting between the south and the north. So I don't think so. It's gonna be Yemen's gonna be divided because basically the Yemenis, they're not killing each other inside of Yemen. They're not fighting each other. It's just Saudi Arabia. They're inventing this. So sorry. So Yemenis, they started to talk about being apart. So if the war stopped, I don't think so. They're gonna have a civil war. It's impossible because everybody's just tired, and yeah. These are the what they call hadiths, most of them.
Okay. إذا بدك أنا
So yeah, we still have
Who the
some
closer
issues,
to
but I
the
think
long run.
لا أنا